Hey everybody, welcome into Folklore and Flourish. It is July 5th, and we are on the month of gods and titans and the divine witness. You are here today with Jane over at Blue Box 29, and you're still in the week one of the first gods. Yesterday we went and looked at our sky fathers, and today we are looking at fire lords. So today is all about the fire lords, and our theme is holy destruction. So this is a really fun one today, and our lesson is that fire creates and it consumes. So we get to look at different forms of fire and different powers of fire today. And we're going to do that through Hindu, Hawaiian, Zoroastrian, and Slavic folklore today. And then we're going to think about what fire lives within me. So what fire lives within me is we're going to light a flame somewhere safe, whatever you need to do, wherever it needs to be, but light a flame and just see how it gives light as well as it requires fuel. So it not only gives, but it does require something in return. And we're going to choose whether our inner fire will refine or destroy today. Also, a fun thing to think about as we're watching that flame is what fuels our fire, okay? And is it refining us or is it helping destroy us? So that's a major thing today, especially when we think about the fire element. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed these stories for July 5th, all about the fire lords and holy destruction. So enjoy these 4 stories. See you guys. Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the cultures behind the stories we are about to explore. The tales shared here come from many peoples, lands, and traditions. I do not change these stories to fit modern expectations or to align with today's social standards. Instead, I present them as they were told, sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh, sometimes challenging. We are not here to judge the past, but to understand it, to listen, to learn, and to honor the ancestors who carried these stories forward. We also share stories from various religious traditions. These are presented in their historical and spiritual context, with respect for their beliefs that they represent. Every culture deserves respect, context, and acknowledgement, and this space is dedicated to doing exactly that. Story 1. Agni, Keeper of the Sacred Flame. Long before the first kingdoms arose across the plains of India, before temples crowned the hillside with carved stone, before families gathered each evening around the warmth of the hearth, the sacred fire was already alive with the presence of Agni, the radiant god whose eternal flame connected the human world with the heavens above. From the earliest days of creation, Agni stood among the most revered of the Devas, not because he ruled through conquest or commanded vast kingdoms, but because he served as the divine messenger who carried every prayer, every offering, and every heartfelt devotion from earth to the gods. Whenever a sacred fire was kindled, Agni awakened within it dancing flames, transforming ordinary wood into light, warmth, and holy smoke that rose toward the sky. The ancient sages taught that no sacrifice could reach the divine without first passing through Agni's care, for he alone possessed the sacred duty of carrying humanity's words across the boundary between the earthly and the eternal. During the great Vedic ceremonies, priests carefully tended the fires, feeding it clarified butter known as ghee, fragrant herbs, grains, and sacred woods, believing that every offering became purified as it passed through Agni's living flame. Yet fire was never seen as gentle alone. The same blaze that warmed a family through the coldest night could also consume an entire forest, reminding all who gathered around it that creation and destruction have always walked together. Agni therefore became a symbol of transformation itself. He did not merely burn what was placed before him, he changed it. Raw food became nourishment, cold metal became useful tools beneath the blacksmith's hammer, darkness gave way to light. Even the human heart, burdened by fear or sorrow, could emerge wiser after passing through life's fires. Countless stories describe Agni as ever present, dwelling simultaneously in light flashing across storm-filled skies, the blazing sun that nourished the earth, the comforting warmth of the household hearth, and the hidden spark sleeping within every living being. Though honored with countless hymns throughout the Rig Veda, Agni remained humble in his purpose, asking for no kingdom beyond the flame itself. His joy was found in service, faithfully carrying messages between humanity and the divine generation after generation. Families welcomed him into weddings as witness to sacred vows, into festivals celebrating the triumph of light over darkness, and into ceremonies marking both birth and death, for fire accompanied every great passage of life. Through Agni, the people of India remembered that fire is never merely an element to be feared or controlled. It is a sacred force that refines rather than simply destroys, illuminating truth while consuming illusion, warming communities while demanding respect, and reminding every generation that the brightest light often emerges only after something old has been transformed. Every flickering flame becomes an invitation to ask not what must be burned away, but what beautiful new beginning might rise from its glowing embers. Story 2. Pele, the living fire. Long before the Hawaiian Islands rose like emerald peaks from the vast Pacific Ocean, before black sand beaches stretched along the coast, before the first voyaging canoes found their way across the endless sea, the people of Hawaii remembered Pele, the powerful goddess, whose living fire dwelled deep within the heart of the earth. Born into a great divine family, Pele was said to have journeyed across the ocean in search of a home where her sacred flame could finally rest. Guided by destiny, she traveled from island to island, digging into the earth with her fiery staff, yet each place proved unsuitable until she reached the island of Hawaii. There, within the towering crater of Kilauea, she discovered the volcanic hearth that still burns today, making it her eternal home. From her fiery chamber beneath the mountain, Pele shaped the land itself. Rivers of glowing lava poured across the earth, swallowing ancient forests, reshaping valleys, and extending the shoreline into the sea. Villages sometimes stood in the path of her molten rivers, reminding everyone who witnessed them that nature's power could never be commanded by human hands. Yet when the lava finally cooled, what had once appeared as devastation slowly became fertile ground where native plants took root, birds returned, and new life flourished. To the Hawaiian people, this was never a contradiction. It was rhythm of creation itself. Pele's fire did not destroy for destruction's sake. It cleared the way for renewal. Many stories tell of Pele's appearing not only as a radiant goddess surrounded by flame, but also as an elderly woman wandering lonely mountain roads. Travelers who met the humble stranger faced an unseen test of character. Those who greeted her with kindness, generosity, and respect often received unexpected blessings for safe passage, while those who mocked, ignored, or mistreated her sometimes found themselves confronting the unpredictable power of the volcano itself. Through these encounters, the people remembered that the divine often arrives in ordinary forms, asking not for admiration but for compassion. Pele's greatest rival was her sister, Namaka, goddess of the sea, whose crashing waves continually sought to extinguish the volcanic fire. Their eternal struggle between fire and water shaped the Hawaiian Islands, where steaming cliffs still mark the places where molten lava meets the Pacific Ocean. Yet neither sister ever truly conquered the other. Instead, their endless dance continued to create the very landscape that defines Hawaii today. Through Pele, generations learned that the earth itself is alive, forever changing beneath forces far older than humanity. Their flames become symbols of passion, courage, transformation, and the sacred understanding that every ending carries the hidden possibility of a new beginning. The Hawaiian people remembered that to live among volcanoes was not to fear the fire, but to honor it with humility, gratitude, and respect, trusting that even the fiercest blaze may one day become the fertile soil upon which future generations will build their home. Story 3. The Sacred Fire, the Flame of Truth. Long before mighty empires stretched across the deserts and mountains of ancient Persia, before travelers followed the great trade routes that would one day become the Silk Road, before stone temples crowned the hills with their silent watchfulness, a sacred flame burned as a living reminder of truth, wisdom, and presence of the divine. In the teachings of Zoroastrian, known in Greek as Zoroaster, fire was never worshipped as a deity. Instead, it was honored as the purest earthly symbol of Ahura Mazda, the wise Lord and Supreme Creator whose light represented truth, justice, and the continual triumph of goodness over falsehood. Within the quiet halls of the Astash Baram, the greatest grade of Zoroastrian fire temple, priests carefully tended flames that were never allowed to die. Day and night, generation after generation, they added clean, dry wood to the sacred fire with great reverence, ensuring that its light remained unbroken through the passing centuries. The flame illuminated every corner of the sanctuary, reminding all who entered that just as darkness disappears before even the smallest light, ignorance and deception can never endure where truth is faithfully protected. Yet the sacred fire was more than a source of light. It became a mirror through which every person was invited to examine the condition of their own heart. The teachings of Zarathustra encourage humanity to choose the path of Asha, the divine order of truth, righteousness, and harmony, rather than Druj, the path of deceit, disorder, and illusion. Every time believers stood before the flame, they were reminded that this choice was renewed each day, not through grand gestures alone, but through what became the guiding principles of the faith. Humata, good thoughts. Hukta, good words. And Vashta, good deeds. Like fire itself, these virtues possess the power to spread outward, warming families, strengthening communities, and illuminating even the darkest moments of life. The flame purified without prejudice, offering its light freely to anyone who approached with sincerity and reverence. Throughout centuries of challenge, migration, and change, Zoroastrian communities carried this sacred fire wherever they journeyed, protecting it as a living symbol of hope that could never be extinguished by hardship alone. To them, the flame represented humanity's highest calling, not to dominate the world through power, but to become faithful guardians of truth within it. Through the sacred fire, generations remember that the brightest light is not the one that consumes the most fiercely, but the one that burns steadily through every season, quietly revealing the path forward. Fire became not a weapon of destruction, but a promise that wisdom, integrity, and compassion could continue shining long after kingdoms had faded into history, so long as someone remained willing to tend the flame. Story 4. Svarog, Lord of the Celestial Forge. Long before the forests of Eastern Europe echoed with the ring of hammer upon anvil, before villages gathered around glowing hearths, and before blacksmiths transformed cold iron into tools that would build kingdoms, ancient Slavic peoples remembered Svarog, the radiant lord of the celestial forge, whose sacred fire shaped both the heavens above and the lives of humanity below. As one of the greatest heavenly deities of Slavic tradition, Svarog was associated with the blazing sun, the divine forge, craftsmanship, and the sacred order that turned raw creation into a world fit for life. While other gods wielded fire as a weapon or a force of nature, Svarog mastered it as a creator, understanding that the greatest power of flame was not simply to consume, but to transform. Within his heavenly workshop, where the glow of molten metal rivaled the brilliance of the dawn itself, Svarog was said to forge the sun's daily journey across the sky, ensuring that each morning light returned to warm the earth once more. The sparks rising from his mighty anvil became stars scattered across the night, while the rhythm of his hammer echoed through the changing seasons, reminding humanity that creation is never finished, but continually renewed through patient work. According to Slavic tradition, Svarog also bestowed one of civilization's greatest gifts upon humankind, the knowledge of fire and metalworking. He taught people how to build hearths that gathered families together, how to shape plows that cultivated the fields, and how to forge tools that transformed forests into homes and raw stone into thriving communities. Through his wisdom, fire became more than warmth or survival. It became the foundation of craftsmanship, creativity, and human progress. Yet every blacksmith understood that the forge demanded discipline. Iron placed too briefly within the flame remained brittle and unformed, while metal left too long could be ruined altogether. Only through patience, skill, and careful attention could something strong and beautiful emerge from the fire. In this way, Svarog's forge became a reflection of life itself. Challenges were not punishments, but opportunities to be refined. Hardship did not exist merely to break the spirit, but to shape character within the same steady care, a mastersmith devoted to every glowing blade. Throughout Slavic lands, the hearth stood at the center of the home, its fire providing warmth through harsh winters while serving as a place where stories were shared, meals prepared, and generations gathered together. Every flame carried a quiet reminder of Svarog's enduring gift, connecting ordinary households to the divine fire of creation itself. Through his legends, the Slavic people remembered that the strongest things in life are rarely found in their finished forms. They are forged slowly through perseverance, wisdom, and the willingness to endure the heat of transformation. The fire of the forge was never meant to destroy what entered it. It existed to reveal what that material had the potential to become, teaching every generation that the brightest future is often shaped one careful strike at a time. Daily thread for July 5th, the Fire Lords. Though their flames burned upon different mountains, within sacred temples, beside family hearths, and inside the glowing hearth of the forge, each of today's traditions understood that fire is far more than heat or light. The people of India saw Agni carrying prayers heavenward. Native Hawaiians witnessed Pele shaping islands through molten rivers of creation. The followers, Zoroastrian, honored the sacred fire as a living symbol of truth that illuminated the path of righteousness. And the Slavic peoples remembered Svarog, forging not only metal, but the very foundations of civilization itself. Each flame revealed a different face of the same enduring mystery. Fire can warm or wound, illuminate or consume, destroy what no longer serves, and prepare the way for something stronger to emerge. Our ancestors did not simply fear fire because of its power. They revered it because they recognized themselves within it. Like the flame, every human heart carries the ability to create, to refine, to protect, and to transform the world around it. Perhaps that is why so many cultures placed their greatest hopes beside a fire, where families gathered, prayers were offered, stories were shared, and new generations learned that the brightest light is not the one that burns the fiercest, but the one that continues to bring warmth through the longest night. As tonight's fire settles into glowing embers, ask yourself not what in your life must be consumed, but what within you is waiting to be refined, strengthened, and set aglow so that its light may quietly guide both your own path and those who walk beside you.